ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about Rise of the Powers of 10 number 2, written by Kieran Gillen, with art by RB Silva and color by David Curiel. Since Rise of the Powers of 10 number 1, we have had Dead X-Men as a nice in-between to this issue, giving us some setup so that way we can just dive right into this issue. If you have not seen my video for Dead X-Men number 1, boom, it's right up here. When we pick up with this issue, we already know that Rachel Summers, aka Ascani, is working with Charles Xavier, Cypher, and Rasputin 4, but so too is Mother Righteous, unwillingly, I might add, but she's on board. The Dominion is just too strong for any of them to tackle without each other's help, so Mother Righteous, even as a prisoner, is falling in line despite repeated attempts to get someone to free her. We already know what purpose Ascani serves. Helping with navigating the time stream, Mother Righteous is being used for a different purpose, and that is to allow Xavier and company to communicate with the mutants in the White Hot Room, those very same mutants that we kept up with in the Immortal X-Men series, characters like Exodus, Hope, and the rest of the Five, Destiny, so on and so forth. And this is largely due to the fact that Mother Righteous's homunculus is there with them. This was something we learned in Immortal X-Men, that Mother Righteous had created a clone of herself, a body that she could pilot while staying safely tucked away outside of the White Hot Room, and this homunculus also possessed an X gene, which allowed it to enter the White Hot Room and be detected as a mutant, even by Hope Summers. The Mother Righteous in Xavier's custody is the genuine article. We don't know exactly how Xavier got his hands on the actual Mother Righteous, but I'm sure this is something that will very likely come into play at a later issue. Because last time we saw actual Mother Righteous, she was seemingly unscathed and unharmed. Sidebar, we do see Jean Grey appear in this issue, and as we do, it seems even Elixir is incapable of bringing her back to life, and in the wake of discovering that he cannot bring her back, we do see an ominous green light firing into where the mutants in the White Hot Room are hiding out. Not 100% sure exactly what this is, but it's safe to say it has a lot to do with what's going on with Jean Grey in the upcoming X-Men Forever. We know that Jean is going to be combating some kind of a digital menace or otherwise machine presence, so this very likely has something to do with that and will ultimately kind of bridge the gap over in to X-Men from the Ashes. And that's not really the only time we see Jean. We actually see both Jean and Cyclops referred to by the Enigma because he is keeping watch over all aspects of the timeline, but more specifically, I think Jean is very important here because he specifically mentions that she has the power to destroy a Dominion. More specifically, not even so much Jean, but the Phoenix Force itself. So whatever that green light is, it may have something more to do with Enigma. Maybe it's another piece that's on the table to keep Jean out of the way so that Enigma can pull off his plan. But getting back to Mother Righteous, why does Mother Righteous believe Xavier and company are not going to win if they stay their current course? Because they've already failed in stopping Enigma from becoming the Dominion. And right now, the plan is to stop Moira before her X gene actually fully activates, which we know is going to happen when she turns 13. We've already seen in the Dead X-Men that it's already been confirmed about roughly when she's going to become a mutant. In Dead X-Men, that away team was able to gather up all of Moira's data, meaning that they could go to any point in her life, not just her 10th life, but any of them. And Xavier's plan is to travel to an early point in Moira's life prior to her gaining the X gene and killing her. So once again, why does Mother Righteous believe Xavier is going to fail? This is because the Dominion has already beaten Xavier to the punch. He's already watching over Moira because it's easy for him. He exists outside of normal space and time, so he can be anywhere and anywhen. When we open this issue up, he's already monitoring her mere minutes before her X gene activates. But this is good because he set up defenses in the time stream around that moment. Those defenses being Arachno Sentinels. Sounds kind of dumb on paper, but these special Sentinels are exactly what they sound like. Techno-organic spiders who operate in a Sentinel capacity, but more because they are keeping guard over the time stream with their many temporal webs. If any of the remaining X-Men travel to a point in time that passes through that web, just like a real-life spider, they'll know where they are and then go to take them down. We even get a glimpse of how these Sentinels will very likely destroy the X-Men in the future. Whether it actually happens or not is another story altogether. Maybe it will, but when it does, will it already be too late? Not necessarily for Xavier, but even for the Dominion. Now, earlier I said it's a good thing that the Dominion is protecting that moment in time because it is virtually the X-Men's only hope to stop him. If it wasn't, he wouldn't be protecting it, right? So this is good news. This means they're on the right track, but for more reasons than some on Xavier's team may realize. While Ascani is of the belief Xavier is only going to talk to Moira, mind you, a fully organic Moira before she turns a whole-ass evil machine, Xavier plans to kill her, as we've talked about before. This part isn't really news, but the idea that the others on the team don't know this particular part of the plan is definitely news. In Rise of the Powers of 10, number 1, it seemed like all parties knew the play. Xavier and Cypher seemed to know, Rasputin was seemingly clued in too, but since we never saw Ascani, we never realized that she wasn't aware. It's not to say Ascani couldn't be brought over to Xavier's way of thinking either, but as he points out himself, she still believes they can win without killing Moira. He even brings up that she may think he'll simply depower her, but as we know, powers can be restored and the Dominion would have the ability to make it happen. That said, I feel like Rachel isn't so naive that she can't be made to recognize Moira is a lost cause. Speaking of lost causes, why go to all this trouble to seek out a preteen Moira rather than just kill her in her crib? This is because, same as depowering Moira, it's not 100% certain it would work. We know Moira's X gene doesn't activate until she's 13, but they don't know this for certain. For all they know, her X gene is always active from birth. And before anyone says that's not a thing, I present to you Darwin. His X gene was obvious and active at birth. Necra's was also obvious at birth, even if she didn't realize that it was active. Nightcrawler was born with his X gene already manifested. One of the funniest instances in mutant births is Jamie Madrox. It's not one that we actually see, but one that is mentioned in X Factor Volume 3, number 11, where it's casually mentioned that his power became obvious when the doctor who delivered him smacked him on the ass when he was born, and this created a duplicate of Jamie Madrox on the spot as a newborn baby. So it's reasonable for Xavier to imagine that if they go back and kill Moira as a child, not only would it be morally bankrupt regardless of the scenario, it would also likely not fix the problem if she reincarnates and resets the timeline upon death, something Xavier knows her power allows with a certainty. And while Xavier is sharing this information with Rasputin 4, he's keeping other secrets from her just as well as he is Ascani, namely the true identity of Cypher. This is not our Cypher. This is Sinister. Cypher is likely still tucked away somewhere safe inside of Krakoa proper, or even still deep underneath the island itself. I say this isn't the original Cypher who is being taken over by Sinister because he even refers to the body he's piloting as a clone. That said, it could just be a misspeak. We have seen these things happen in comics recently. We can't forget that in the Immortal X-Men series, Cypher was dragged down into a Krakoan no place. And while this is a no place, I don't think it's the same no place If Sinister says the body he's piloting is a clone and not the genuine article, I'm willing to go with it. That said, another reason Sinister is only piloting this body is because Sinister is still not free of his place in the pit. This was something I was curious about because when last we saw Sinister, he was still in a psionically spectral state, appearing to Charles because he still had a sliver of himself inside of the professor from when he was a child. The fact that Sinister is in Rasputin's presence, and considering how much she hates him for lying to her and manipulating her, you would be right to assume she wouldn't be happy to learn she was working with him again. Even in this issue, she makes it clear she still hates him and that she hates being manipulated, period. Xavier is playing a dangerous game with Rasputin and keeping secrets. Either way, Rasputin is on board until she is not. But once she realizes who that cipher really is, there's going to be hell to pay. But first, they must kill Moira before her X gene activates for the first time. I say for the first time because, as Prodigy points out in Dead X-Men #1, they have access to all of Moira's memories. Not just her memories of her 10th life, they have memories of every single life she's ever lived, meaning that they can go to any point in her timeline regardless of whether that timeline is dead or not. I don't believe it's an unsafe assumption to think they're going to go back to her first life, but the reason I'm thinking they're probably just going to go to her 10th is merely because that's the one Enigma is watching right now. But regardless of which one they go to, I don't think it ultimately matters. As long as they at least unalive her in her 10th life, then everything should be fixed. Or at least that's what they want to believe. Now, I did say the Dominion has that part of the timeline locked down. He's sitting there watching as her X gene manifests in her 10th life. He doesn't want to proposition her now to join his side. He's going to wait because she needs to see her plans fall apart first. Her plan to work alongside mutants, as well as her plan to stay by herself and her plan to work alongside Orcus. She needs to fall first so that she's not exactly rock bottom, but it's at least apparent that she's not on the winning side, because we gotta remember, that's all she cares about. She is only working with who she thinks gives her the best opportunity to win. It doesn't matter if they're mutant or if they're machines or human or whatever. She wants to be on the winning team because being on the winning team means she gets to live. And that is exactly the message that Enigma sends to Moira McTaggart. Orcus is losing, and it's obvious. We've seen this over and over in the Fall of the House of X side of things. Orcus is on the back foot now, getting roughly the same dose of medicine they gave to mutant kind at the Hellfire Gala last year, but in spades. And he tells her a simple truth. Orcus is not going to win. He is. And he also poses a very simple solution to both of their problems. Let's talk. You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.